Hi. Did you know that Paris has reanimated medieval traditions after more than a century of hiatus? The Paris Carnival has returned, and it has done so in all its freakish glory. By freakish, I mean that freaks have returned as well. Today's episode might be a significant blow to the popular belief that humanity is always progressing. Just think about it. Does the reanimation of medieval norms sound progressive in any way? Were medieval times progressive? Let's remember the time of progressive witch hunts and no less progressive crusades. It sounds like a stalemate at best to me, if not a degradation. But let's not be hasty in our conclusions. The Paris Olympics opening ceremony not only drew striking parallels to the medieval carnival traditions that once flourished throughout Europe, but it was also a full embodiment of the carnival spirit. And I am not speaking about the modern interpretation of the word carnival, like some fun with masks with a couple of friends. Carnival was a time when everything base in humans was allowed to be let loose. In a way, you were allowed to sin as you wanted, drink what you wanted, and sleep with whom you wanted, man or woman, lord or peasant. One of the main features of any carnival was the exhibition of human oddities. Medieval carnivals often featured freak shows, where people with physical deformities, unusual abilities, or unusual sexual appearances were displayed for public entertainment, mostly for laughing at and mocking. Such freaks did not just walk through the streets, they acted in some sort of theatrical performances. Who am I speaking about? Dwarfs, giants, or those with conditions like conjoined twins, and so popular these days in many progressive circles. Women with beards and men with breasts. Men dressed in women's clothes. Women dressed as men. Sounds like the most active members of the LGBTQ+ community, doesn't it? There was no large carnival without featured individuals who did not conform to traditional gender roles or who had ambiguous sexual characteristics. These individuals were often displayed as curiosities, much like those with physical deformities. How did a medieval peasant see such people? Probably in the same way as he saw sword-swallowing dwarves. He did not want to be like them, but laughed his head off looking at how they acted. The opening ceremony of the Olympics in Paris became a true carnival, temporarily subverting all social norms and shamelessly displaying all national freaks. How? By featuring drag performers, same-sex couples, and provocative so-called artistic expressions, challenging conventional expectations of decorum and propriety, much like performers did centuries ago. This echoes the medieval carnival tradition of the world turned upside down, where hierarchies were temporarily inverted and societal rules suspended. We can reconstruct a day at the Paris Carnival, specifically February 22nd, 1580. The similarities with the recent 2024 Olympics opening begin with the location, inside the city itself, on the streets and riverbanks. The Paris Olympics opening took place not in a stadium, but the city became the stadium itself, just as it did during any carnival, including ours on February 22nd, 1580. Location: the bustling streets of Paris. The carnival begins with a grand parade, featuring elaborately dressed participants, musicians, and performers. The crowd gathers along the streets, cheering and clapping as the procession passes by. Among the highlights of the parade are the freak shows, where individuals with physical deformities, unusual abilities, or even non-conventional sexual appearances are showcased. Freaks perform on makeshift stages set in the most prominent Paris streets, attracting crowds to witness the performances. The stages are adorned with vibrant drapes and banners. Let's take a closer look at one of these stages. The first performer is a dwarf, dressed in a colorful costume, who entertains the audience with acrobatics and humorous antics. The crowd reacts with laughter and applause, appreciating the performer's skill and charm. Next, a giant steps onto the stage, towering over the spectators. The giant's presence is both awe-inspiring and intimidating, and the crowd watches in rapt attention as he performs feats of strength, lifting heavy objects with ease. The audience gasps and cheers, marveling at the giant's extraordinary abilities. Then it is time for the cross-dressing performer, who in reality is just a toothless old woman clad in a king's clothes. In this year 1580, she is already referred to as a fool, or a mock king, or a mock queen, king of fools, or queen of fools. To be honest, such a performance is one of the most anticipated events in all carnival schedules. I'm speaking about the Feast of Fools, where a mock king, queen, or fool is crowned. This individual is often someone with a physical deformity or low social status, and the role reversal serves as a form of social satire. The fool, or mock queen, dressed in regal attire, parades through the streets, followed by a procession of jesters and musicians. The crowd joins in the merriment, cheering as the fool mocks the established social order. You already got some nasty associations with what happened in the Olympic opening 2024, didn't you? While no single performer was explicitly designated as the fool during the Olympics opening, several acts embodied this spirit. The blue-painted Philippe Catherine, in his nearly naked state, arguably served as a contemporary fool figure or a mock king. His provocative performance and cheeky lyrics challenged societal norms around nudity and equality, much as the medieval fool used humor and shock to speak truth to power. And one more controversial example, of course. I'm speaking about the preceding Blue Fool, the drag performers, particularly those in the controversial Last Supper tableau. The embodiment of the fool archetype is pretty obvious. By subverting gender norms and sacred religious imagery, they fulfilled the traditional role of the fool's party in questioning established hierarchies and beliefs. Who is the fool then? To be precise, the mock queen. Barbara Butch, as a central figure in the ceremony, could be seen as such. As a DJ and self-proclaimed love activist, her presence at the heart of the Olympic spectacle challenged conventional notions of who should be centered in such a global event. There is considerable controversy surrounding Barbara and her bluish friend Philippe. Many people were deeply offended, claiming that such performances mock Christianity, as parts of the Olympic opening closely resembled Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, which depicts the moment Jesus Christ declared that an apostle would betray him. On the other hand, many supported Barbara and her drag army, advocating for freedom of expression. However, these debates seem irrelevant. Such clashes of words will not change the situation we live in today, nor will they alter the fact of what just happened. And what happened is exactly what we discussed before, the reincarnation of the European Carnival on European streets. The reincarnation of somewhat forgotten medieval tradition. There are people who could name it progressive. But is it? How could we be progressive if we reincarnate something that is about 500 years old and came to us from a time of so-called dark ages? As society reverts to the spectacle of the past, we must ask ourselves, are we truly moving forward, or are we simply dressing up ancient absurdities in modern attire? In this light, what we witnessed was not progress, but a stark reminder that history has a way of repeating itself, often with unsettling consequences. That's almost everything I wanted to say about the topic, except for one more thing. One more funny observation. No matter how greatly the LGBTQ+ community mocked the Last Supper and the sacred fundamentals of Christianity, they will still find a way to blame me and my point of view more, considering this video as oversimplified or even offensive. Because, they would say, it's important to distinguish between historical exploitation and modern efforts for inclusion and representation. Important to distinguish between joking about some religious beliefs and offending endlessly oppressed people as they see themselves. YouTube algorithms, same as many modern AI tools, could be set against popularizing views like mine and could penalize my video. In such a case, I just ask you to give this episode a thumbs up, share it with friends, or just subscribe to my channel. And on this note, have a nice one. See you next time.